long day, so I'm recording late at night, but I'm going to be off camera. I just simply wanted to make a very important point that I've learned in my journey and my walk with with God, and that is competition. I've learned that competing with my own heart and with my own self is competition enough rather than looking at other people. And what I mean by that is a lot of us tend to look at other people and see what they have and see what they're doing and see what awesome of a person they are. And I've given my testimony, my turning point, and what in how this came about before. I mentioned that my grandmother has been a pastor since she's been 19 years old. My grandmother is 90 years old now. So you can imagine she's very, very spiritual. She's definitely somebody that I would look up to as far as somebody I would model after in Christ. But I remember when, years ago now, I was looking at her walk and she would tell me these amazing stories of how she would have encounters with Jesus and how she would lay hands on people and she was healing people. And, she had all of these wonderful testimonies of how she had these dreams and visions of Jesus coming and talking to her right there and holding her hand and, all of these different things. And I was like, for a long time, I was fasting and praying. I was like, God, I want a spiritual life like my grandmother has. Why can't I see Jesus? I want to see Jesus. So I was fasting, I was fasting, I was fasting. And then one day, God was like, what are you trying to see? Don't you walk by faith, Why are you looking at other people's walks and looking at what other people have and things like that when you have work to do yourself, And it really made me think like, wow, you're right, God, because if I constantly examine myself and look into my own heart, I have room for improvement. I can definitely improve. Even from the person that I was yesterday or even, a few hours ago, there's always something that I can look back on in that day or in that space or that time, whatever it may be, that I may have did wrong, that I may have could have did better, things like that. Not that I beat myself up, but I'm just saying, we're competition enough in ourselves, especially with our flesh. You guys all know and have read the full armor of God, where we are fighting with spiritual, with the evil spirit, with the evil principalities. So we definitely have an adversary that we are fighting tooth and nail, and especially in our flesh, man. We are always constantly fighting and battling that. So if I'm having that battle within me, as far as, separating my flesh man from my spiritual man, for my soul, why do I need to look at everybody else and compete with them? I can't. Like I said, I'm battle enough with my own self. So what I've learned to do is compete with myself and not with others. To constantly check myself and not check what others are doing. And that's helped me tremendously. Because I used to be, especially since I was very shy, and a lot of people just, didn't really flock to me, especially in school. And even in my adult life, I tried to do everything to be something to somebody, to stand out to somebody, to fit into this world. And God really had to put me in check when I was doing that, because it caused me to stumble and fall and do things that I would have never done otherwise. If I would have came to Christ sooner than what I did, especially because God has been tugging on me for the longest to give up this world. And it wasn't until I came to that space and that place where I was just depressed beyond belief. I wasn't finding happiness or joy and peace at any of the things that I was doing, any of the things that I was seeking, all of the money that I was making and buying all of these different things and wearing all of this makeup to get attention and wearing all of this fake hair and all this stuff to get attention, that I was totally devastated. I was very downtrodden. I was very broken. And that's when I came to Christ, that's when I cried out for my soul. I was like, God, I can't do this anymore. I'm depressed. I cannot find what I'm looking for in any of the things that I've been engaging in here on earth. And so that's when God started to do a work in me and started to change me and started to give me a desire to open his word and give me discernment in his word. And then when I started seeking other Christians and other Christians' prayer lives, especially my grandmother, and looking at people like Joyce Meyer and, people like that on YouTube, I was kind of like, then I got into another stump, like, man, God was like, move away from that as well and get quiet before me, get into your word, and you walk your own walk, and you work it, and you work out your own salvation, okay? And so I'm trying to tell you guys that stop looking at everybody else and what they have and the nice fancy clothes and houses and shoes and cars and all of this stuff that social media promotes. You can look on social media and look on Facebook, and everybody, of course, is going to show the happiest moments. They're not going to show what's going on really in their lives and closed doors. It looks all like cupcakes and ice cream and cookies, on Facebook. But we don't really see what's really going on behind closed doors, If you look at a celebrity's life, they look all happy on TV, they can be the best actor in the world, but behind closed doors, they're going insane. They're taking pills and drugs. They're engaging in sexual activity. Sexual immortality is what impurity is what I'm trying to say. They're totally condemned behind doors. That's why I know that America is so intoxicated with competitions and sports and things like that. But, men, we're not created to be glorified, And so when an actor or a athlete or whatever it might be, if you're competing in bingo or whatever it might be, we're just not created to be glorified. So in other words, the glory all belongs to God. The Bible says the glory all belongs to God. We're his servants. We do not need to be glorified. And that could even be an athlete or an actor, that's still God's servant, even though they may not be serving him with their lives, they're still beneath God. We're still beneath God. God is to be glorified. And so to look at everybody else's life and desire and want what they have, you're going to constantly be in a place of depression. You're going to be going insane because you're competing with each other. You're looking at other people and seeing what they want and desiring what they want. And you're not in a space where you're content. And that's where we need to come into a space where we are content with our relationship with God. And I know that some would say that we need to be setting time a designated time for God. But we got to remember that it's not a designated time that we need to set for God, because our time is his time, because he blessed us with the time, with our time. It came from God. So we need to be dedicating our time to God, not putting aside time for God, but dedicating all of our time to him. And I think that's where a lot of people think, well, let me go ahead and give him 30 minutes of the day, at the start of my day or the end of my day or in between my day, and that's it. And they don't give another thought to God. But you got to remember that your time is God's. So it's not your will be done, it's his will be done, even with your time, your energy, whatever it might be. So, that's why I say you just cannot look at everybody else. Don't compete with everybody else and what they're doing and what they have. Compete with yourself. Look inside yourself. You have enough that's going on inside of yourself and inside of your life that you can always find room in your life to improve. And so I hope that this helped you guys, because it definitely helped me in my walk. because, you know, when you first come to Christ and you're looking at all these different YouTube channels and all of these different preachers, and they're all talking about going to get this and becoming bigger in this and going to get your destiny, you kind of fall into that trap of, oh, you know what, I want to be a big preacher on a platform one day with a microphone, and I want my name to be great. But you got to remember that we all started out crawling at one point. It's the same thing whenever you come to Christ. You're going to crawl before you walk. And it's not, you don't need to be focused on your name being famous. You just need to focus on your name being good in God's eyes, you know. Focus on being humble. Focus on His harvest and what He has for you. His will be done in your life. And that's how we have to live our lives, because we're constantly going to be in a place where we cannot find that peace. We can't find it because we're going to be pursuing our wills and not His will. And I had to learn that. I had to learn that in my walk. But I hope that this helped you guys. I am going to go ahead and do a little bit more Bible study and then get some rest because it's pretty late at night right now. But I had to give you guys that tidbit of information. I hope you guys have a wonderful night or evening or day or afternoon whenever I get this up. I love you guys. Hope you guys have a good one. Bye.